It's 8:30 and we can get started. I'm Hillman Frazier and this is Senator McClendon. And we're here to discuss the community colleges board and general request this morning. You're gonna have other members stepping in. We have other meetings going on. And please remember that this meeting is live streamed. So we'll have a chance to tell the world good things you're doing in the community colleges. So we're gonna call you up at this time. We're glad to have our chairman, Senator Briggs Hobson, here with us this morning. Thank you.
All
Yes,
right.
you
Good morning, Chairman Frazier, and as well as your colleagues, fellow senators that are present. On behalf of the cohort community colleges presidents, we're here to say thank you this morning and appreciate your time for allowing us to be here today. Thank you for allowing not only our association, but as well as our state board of community colleges to the opportunity to speak and meet with you this morning, to express to you, again, our thank yous, as well as share with you our legislative agenda. Particularly, we are appreciative for the most recent 3% pay increase that you allowed us to have during the last session. We're eager to work with you during this session and even beyond this session. As you know, our community colleges provide educational opportunities and workforce training opportunities for many students as well as constituents throughout the state of Mississippi. We offer over 250 degree programs that service nearly 100,000 students. My name is Val Towner. I serve as president of Coahoma Community College, and I am the least of the group, and I have friends here, colleagues here with me that are present, and if I may, I'd like to introduce them at this time, and that is Dr. Steve Basic, Hines Community College. And do we have anybody else here? Dr. Basic, okay, everyone else may either be online or they're not here today. I also have here my esteemed colleague here, Dr. Alsa Brooks with East Mississippi Community College. Again, we just want to say thank you. I don't want to take a lot of the headway time, and I will defer to my colleague, Dr. Alsa Brooks.
Thank you, Dr. Towner, and members of the committee. Chairman Frazier, thank you for having us today. If I may, I want to take just a few moments to talk about some legislative priorities that we developed as a system that's been adopted across the state by our faculty association and our boards of trustees. First and foremost, for the community colleges, our people. We want to be able to reward our people a competitive salary and to try to keep up with inflation. I think one of the things we need to think about as we go forward is the community college faculty salary the average has fallen below the K through 12 salary, which makes Dr. Towner and all the president's jobs pretty difficult to try to hire and maintain a faculty. So number one is salary increases. We're asking for $35 million, but you'll also see part of that $9 million for high demand employees. It's been extremely difficult to keep nursing faculty. And if you're in an area with advanced manufacturing and things like that, and you're trying to run industrial maintenance programs or robotics programs, very difficult to keep those faculty too in certain areas of the state. So we're in a competitive disadvantage as well with hospitals and working community industry to try to compete to keep good faculty. So we're trying to make ourselves a little more competitive on the faculty salary side. Any questions along the way, please stop me. Basic operational cost, number 2. As you know, inflation has been tough, electricity's gone up, utilities, keeping our buildings up, things like that. But the basic operational cost is another expense that's really, really gone up on us in the last few years, and we got to try to keep up with. Priority 3 is the CT Advantage program, which has been a marvelous program that the legislature put in place a couple of years ago. You started with about $5 million to start and enhance career tech programs. I know many of our colleges have started things such as practical nursing programs, expanded nursing programs and those sort of things. Year 2, you made it $10 million. It's worked so well, we're asking for 15. It's been a really, really good avenue to increase those high demand areas in each of our college districts to offer more instruction, more programs, to get more people into those high demand workforce areas, good salary areas. Capital improvements in R&R. We're asking for $50 million. Our buildings, roofs, trying to enhance our facilities, grow new buildings or fix buildings for our students. That's priority 4. And priority 5 is one that we've all discussed at one point or another. It's a great benefit for high school students to be able to enroll in dual credit classes around our state. These students are able to get a leg up on college. They save some money. It's good for families. It's good for a lot of entities, but it's been really tough on the community colleges when it became part of the accountability model, and it really just, the numbers exploded, that numbers of students taking classes, and it's really cut down on the number of credits that we're able to offer anymore, because students finish up with us earlier than they once would have when they can get 15 or 20 or 30 hours in high school. Good for them, but it's made our life tough in the community college world from a business model perspective. So we're continuing to ask for some assistance with getting some tuition availability for these students that are taking dual credit. Again, it's a marvelous program. It's been really, really good for students, really, really good for the high schools and the parents, but it's been tough on community college. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions on any of these priorities that we've discussed.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Either one, Dr. Alsbrooks or Dr. Towner, either one can answer this question. Last year we had a fairly significant amount. I see you got the CTE programs, a fairly significant amount of funds that went to CTE and some nursing programs, different things that were sprinkled in different places. And there may be more to come on that too, hopefully. How is that working out at this point overall? Is that, are you able to utilize those funds for some of the CTE programs? I know some of it was for specific bricks and mortar type stuff, but have you been able to utilize some of that? And if so, in what way?
I'll just use my college as an example, so I'm most familiar with it. At East Mississippi, we started a practical nursing program on our student.
You want to speak just in case anybody's listening?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We started a practical nursing program on our Scuba campus, started an electrical program on that campus as well, kind of an underserved community, high poverty rate. Those programs have done really well. Year 1 out the gates exceeded capacity. For that little practical nursing program, we opened up with 15 students. We turned away 40 something. This year, we're up to 30 students. We used some more of our CTE Advantage funds in year 2 to grow it again with 30 seats in that program and turn away another 60. So the demand for these programs is there. We also started an electrical program, electrical technology, filled it up immediately. The demand is there. Students want to get in these programs that can help them get into the workforce quickly and earn a competitive wage. And I think there's examples of those type programs all around the state and those high demand areas at various colleges, but it's been very, very effective in helping students get in these high demand, high wage programs.
Yeah, I think everybody knows the health and allied health professions have much demand right now. What are some of the other areas that you're seeing, if you can pinpoint a few that are really going upward, and maybe a few that are not, that are looking like they're starting to fade? And I've told this story so many times, but I remember, and Dr. Basic, way before your time at Hines, I remember Sonny Harpo coming to a school board meeting and saying, we just finally recognized that we've been keeping this one program open for years and years, and we've got 2 students that want to be in it. At some point, you just got to say, we can't spend all this money and we're going to redirect it. I think at the time it was a drafting or something program, but it was redirected into some computer science or computer training, which was an up and coming thing at that time. And I applauded that. I think it's a great thing. Where are you seeing some areas that you're looking to maybe expand, and some other areas where you may have to make difficult choices and cut some programs overall in the system? If the 2 of you can address that.
Well, similarly, and specifically for Coahoma, we were able to expand programs as Dr. Alston-Brooks mentioned. For instance, in our truck driving program, we were able to get simulators, another unit itself. Be able to expand programs in such areas such as barbering and cosmetology. Obviously, colleges have to be sort of like a concierge type mindset to provide services and courses that are convenient for students. And so many times those course offerings are not maybe beneficial to students during the regular mainstream. So we've been able to offer evening courses that are continuation of existing programs, in addition to new programs. But also, I would say too, at Coahoma specifically, we were able to shore up a lot of the equipment that was outdated. And my director is here as well. He can testify to that. But we were extremely pleased to finally be able to make some deep dives and enhancing the equipment. Some of our equipment for my school is very archaic. And so students have a real deep relative experience in the classrooms, whether they're taking it during the regular hours or after hours, and also hire teachers as well to help fill in those extra needs that the students have demanded of us.
If you can, if there are any others that you may have some information on, any other community colleges in the state that are having, particular growth, strong growth in an area, and maybe Kel, you may be the one to address this, or some areas where you may be seeing decline. And as it relates to decline, there still may be a need for that particular program, but you don't need it at every campus. And I hope that's something I'm going to suggest, if you're not doing it, that I hope that's something that the community college system will look at and determine that we don't have a need, and I'm just going to pick out drafting. We don't have a need for a strong drafting program because we only have 2 or 3 students that want to do it. But Dr. Towner, in the case of you, it may be that between you and Northwest and Mississippi Delta, one of you has a drafting program, and it may be a little bit more difficult for some students to get there, but the demand doesn't justify having 3 drafting programs. Maybe it's just 1 out of those 3 schools, or maybe 3 or 4 schools. Just like we've had, I know with some truck driving places. I know at Hines, there's the Maritime Training Center. I'm thinking of other programs. Jones has something unique too. I'm drawing a blank on what it is. You probably each have, or several of you have something that's unique to you. That doesn't mean it needs to be at every community college because there's just not a demand for it. But there may be some areas where you got to make a tough choice, but it could be done in consultation with your colleagues, your counterparts at the other colleges, to say we don't have enough demand for this. So let's see if we can consolidate just a few around the state. Kel, do you want to address that? Is that more in your avenue?
So back in the summer at our legislative workshop, when all the presidents get around a table and just talk about legislative issues, this was brought up with Governor Hosemann, and I don't have the specific examples, but I'll get them to y'all because each president went around the table at that point back in June and identified programs that, hey, we have a decline in enrollment in these. And so they've either been closed or, they've reduced maybe resources to those programs. And on the reciprocal side of that, programs that they're opening up that are high demand. So I can get y'all a list of examples that programs that have closed the last year or so as a result of, looking at resources that are available, to be honest with you.
Well, that would be great. And if you'd give it to Chairman Frazier, maybe for distribution, that would be wonderful. But look, I want to thank all of you. Y'all do a lot, sometimes with a little. And I think most people in the state that know about the community college system are very proud of the product that you put out and the work that you do, and just keep it up and look for ways to be innovative in some areas and look for ways to be efficient, which Sometimes it's coming and saying, we really need to have a program that works for our state. We can put it in one or two places. Sometimes it's making a tough decision to say, we really don't need this program anymore, or at least we can reduce it to certain areas. Y'all have done that before, but I want to encourage you to continue to do it because, it's just what we're all called to do is try to be efficient with the dollars we have and make them work the best we can for our citizens. So thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I agree with your statements. To follow up on that, I know during COVID, a lot of its institutions had enrollment challenges going down, things like that. Not only in Mississippi, but also around the country. Have y'all been able to address that in terms of the decline in enrollment? Have you seen those enrollment figures change much?
Mr. Chairman, it has been a struggle. We did, and nationally, community college enrollment struggled around all the state systems. So we've seen a decline statewide, and we've rebounded a little bit, but not a lot. It's really remained flat. It's been tough to endure, but we're starting to see a bounce back in that area. We're seeing students coming back in. I'll tell you one thing we're seeing, particularly on the gen ed side, on the academic side, more students are becoming more and more comfortable with online education. We're seeing growth on the online side. Students don't have to drive to campus anymore as long as technology is available. And we continue to expand broadband around the state. And that's been a great investment in our state. It's helped us offer more online learning, and students are taking advantage of it. I think it's good that we're adapting, and COVID is, and forced us in that route to do that more and more. And we're going to see some more growth there, I do believe.
Right. You also said you're having trouble retaining faculty members because of the salaries, competing with K-12 and the likes?
That's correct. I think when the neighboring school district or, in your district, in your surrounding college districts offering more on an average basis, particularly as they get closer to retirement, some of them will skip out on you and go to work, at a local school district to try to enhance their salary. So it is a struggle. I know we've lost some at our college, and I'm sure my colleagues have experienced the same. It's understandable they're chasing a higher salary, but we're going to continue to try to compete with them.
Thank you. Senator Delano.
Good morning. Thank you. I got called into another meeting earlier this morning, so I apologize for me being tardy. I have a question. I have a daughter that is enrolled in Mississippi State, and she is telling me that she has a lot of friends who elect to take classes from community colleges at the same time that they're enrolled in senior colleges or the higher IHLs. Do you find that is that a pattern that's increasing? And is that because you're able to provide that online curriculum or that online classroom setting? Is that something you're seeing more and more of?
Well, since our district covers the Mississippi State general area around Starkville, we do see that. I think a couple of things that offers that to the students. We have various schedules. We do a lot of intensive terms, winter term, short terms throughout the semester that students, I think, are attracted to. They can jump in and take a class and knock it out. Sometimes when the university is either out or even during the regular semester. And it is a little more economical to take a class with us. And many of them do choose, Senator Delano, to take it online. Some do drive to campus.
Well, I'll tell you, the reason why she does it is because it's a better offering and it's a better classroom, better instruction than what she was able to get at Mississippi State and this happens at Ole Miss as well. I know that for a fact, but I think that goes to the point that you're addressing the immediate needs and you're providing a very good product to the public. So I just wanted to, at first I really didn't know how to take that. When she was telling me that, I didn't know if this was the right thing or not, but I think that it goes to a testament to the type of quality of education that you're providing. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We do work hard to keep our class sizes small so that, I would think our average class size is probably between 20 and 25, as opposed to universities where it can creep much higher than that. So we do try to have that where you can get more engagement with the teacher and assistance along the way.
Chairman Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of follow-ups on that point that Senator Delano is making. I do think, again, for my own children, knowing one of my children went to Northwest. 2 others, or actually all 3, I think, took classes through Hines. Is a couple of college level classes. I don't remember exactly what they took, but I think it's helpful sometimes, as you said, Dr. Alsbrooks, that they're getting a little bit more attention than they sometimes get at our 4-year colleges, a little bit more focus on that, because sometimes at our 4 years, I think it's, it's just a big room with a few hundred people. And I think that can be good for a lot of our students. And I think they need to realize that it's more economical, and it's also an opportunity to get a little bit more one-on-one kind of attention, and something that you can certainly, I think you have, and continue to publicize, so that a lot of young people know that they don't have to spend as much as they might spend at the 4-year colleges and get, as good as information and education on particular topics. Now, we know there's some areas where you're going to have to take, at certain levels, you're going to have to take 4 years, which leads me to my question about high employment jobs. I mean, typically, of course, your higher paying jobs, are going to be with a 4-year degree. So they could get some community college, maybe get associates, go on and get a bachelor's. But what are you seeing just in the community college realm as the higher paying employment that you see a lot of our students going into right now?
Yeah, health sciences for sure, nursing, allied health. I think in around the state, you can look at different regions. Advanced manufacturing in the Golden Triangle, it's really robust, some really good economic development coming that you all approved, and grateful for that. Probably Senator Delano on the coast, the shipbuilding sector, very attractive jobs, good paying. So yeah, we see students, finding their way into those programs and pursuing those jobs quickly. And one thing that we're excited about working with our universities, and they're great partners, is that it's lifelong learning. There's so many degree options now. You can take these 2-year technical degrees and continue along that educational pathway and get a baccalaureate if you choose to do so. And if you want to be a supervisor, if you want to work your way up with an Ingalls or a PACCAR, you can get that 4-year degree on top of the 2-year technical degree while you're working and you're earning a good living, and let the company pay for it too. Often, many of them have really nice tuition reimbursement programs. So students are recognizing these pathways and pursuing these high-paying jobs. Yeah,
speaking of that, I know some employers that I'm familiar with that say, look, we'll pay for your, we'll pay for you to go to the community college, get the training that you need. And that's a win for the student and for the community college. And it's a win for the industry too, because they get them trained properly. So that's a good thing. How are things working out with, Accelerate and with workforce training? How I know that's all new. How are things going so far?
I would say so far it's going pretty good. We're still learning each other. It's a little different. That segment's been with the community college board for a long time, so we're learning to work together. I think just the idea to some new ideas coming to the table and doing things differently, which was also allowed in the legislation, has been a great help. Thinking outside the box. I hate to use that term, but it just is, to be able to use those wet funds to help people get in jobs, to get high demand jobs that we normally may not have worked with. I think using the funds a little differently has helped so far. They've also helped fund grant programs, so to speak, with equipment, as Dr. Towner said. That's been a great help. So it's doing pretty well so far.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I add as well to the question before that, but you're right in regards to Accelerate. It's really exciting. The extra availability of funds and the partnerships that we have is great. But you mentioned about the areas in which students go into possibly and have high compensation. So I know all of my colleagues will attest to this statement here that we're also having we're having a lot of challenges, I should say, as relates to attracting instructors that teach in those areas. So generally, the higher the pay is potentially for a student to complete an area or a content area, it's hard to draw those particular instructors, like in nursing or even in CTE, which is definitely pointed out by one of the colleagues, Dr. Basic, behind us. To get a diesel instructor, you can't pay the regular amount. So just kind of going, that salary increase is so important to be able to fill those needs that students have to go into those areas, but we got to be able to draw teachers by paying them enough, because we can't compete a lot of times with other industries in that same area.
Yeah, and along that same line, one of the projects we've got approved with Accelerate, it's really helping us. They've approved funding for 3 nursing faculty for year 1 to grow our associate degree nursing program, our RN program. So to be able to get those funds, basically the upfront capital to pay the nursing until we start drawing tuition and formula funds in, it really helps us to get that, to speed that process up, to get people on payroll and to get that program expansion going. So they kind of help us in that regard too. Very helpful. Moving back to one other thing you mentioned too, in working with industry, we're seeing a growth in our area, and I think other parts of the state are too, with these apprenticeship programs. We've been working on them a long time. I think we're finally starting to see some payoffs of those investments. We have a number of companies that are sending their employees to campus during normal workday while they're on the clock. And which is great for them. It's going to help them grow a workforce. But I tell you, it's really helping those students that may not understand what goes on at a Steel Dynamics. When they're sitting in the classroom next to a Steel Dynamics employee every day, that's a part of the apprenticeship program, that's a great advantage to the people that are thinking about going in these fields, that we need to go into these fields and stay in these fields. That's a great advantage to be able to work that program. And that's been something else we've been able to use, some Accelerate money and some we owe our workforce dollars to make these apprenticeship programs get off the ground. Now we got to grow them. We are seeing some success there.
Just from the agency perspective, if that's okay.
Please.
Obviously, the priority today is the community colleges and their needs. I'm Kel Smith. I'm the interim executive director of the Community College Board. And I just wanted to talk about 30 seconds about the agency. You know, our request is real simple this year. We're asking for level funding. We appreciate the support that y'all gave both to the colleges and our agency last year. Know that we're efficient with those dollars, both at the agency and the colleges. If you think about the educational entities in the state, I mean, the community colleges, they serve adult education folks who dropped out of high school, the career tech folks that are looking to enter the workforce, non-credit workforce training, the academic folks. So you're talking about the entity that has such a broad mission that serves so many different folks. And I would make the observation that they are efficient with dollars, and any additional funding y'all can provide will be well used and well spent and a great investment in the state. So I just wanted to thank y'all for y'all's support for the system, the agency, and that was my two or three comments on our agency. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the job you've been doing over the years. You've been very good stewards of the limited resources we've been allocating to you. So you all made a difference in the lives of so many people. So thank you for the work you're doing. We appreciate you.
Thank y'all.
Motion, rise and report. Thank you.
I met with them. Oh, so you got it, yeah. I've already Cool.
See you, Kel. Yeah, sure do. Push the button that turns green. I got you.
So much. Good morning. If we could, let's get started. I know we're starting a little late, and I know we have a lot of information to cover in a short period of time. So I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you all for taking time out this morning to be here. Thank you, Dr. Al Rankins, and I will turn it over to you at this time.
College education here in our society. Individuals with college degrees have higher incomes, lower incarceration rates, and less dependency on governmental programs. They're more likely to read to their children, pay higher taxes, and help attract greater business investments here in our great state. A recent article in the Hechinger report noted that our nation is highly refocusing on skills training and workforce credentials, but also that we must not lose sight of the fact that a bachelor's degree is still the most reliable route to the middle class. The center's research consistently shows the substantial payoff of a bachelor's degree in the labor market. As this slide shows, higher educational attainment translates to higher earnings and lower unemployment. College continues to be a good long-term investment because over time and over a person's lifetime, an individual with a bachelor's degree typically earns $1.2 million more than a worker with only a high school diploma, compared to lifetime earning increases of $300,000 for those with some college but no degree, and $400,000 for those with an associate's degree. This slide shows unemployment rates by educational attainment level from 2002 to 2022 over the past 10 years. The reference article also stated that the bachelor's degree is still the gold standard for workers in today's economy, and I believe that to be very true. The Georgetown Center recently projected that by 2031, 72% of all jobs in the country will go to workers with at least some education beyond high school. I'm proud that our public universities continue to improve in their productivity to meet our state's workforce demands. In 2021, we awarded 19,681 degrees, a 19% increase since 2014. We've also increased the number of STEM degrees awarded by 32% over the last 5 years. We're especially proud that over 70% of the nurses and educators who graduate from our universities are still employed 5 years after they enter our workforce. Before we get into our appropriation requests, I want to give you some context on where we've been in our appropriations and our challenges in maintaining competitive salaries for our faculty and staff on our campuses. Look, this slide compares the IHL general fund appropriation growth to general fund growth since 2000. We are very grateful for the increases you've made in our budgets over the past couple of years. Your support is helping us improve faculty and staff salaries while keeping tuition for our students as affordable as possible. We hope that you will continue to be able to help us toward this upward trend. This slide shows the shift in appropriations versus tuition as a portion of our budgets since the year 2000. This is further illustrated on this slide. As we see, in 2000, tuition made up approximately 50% of our budgets, whereas today it makes up approximately 64% of our budget. We've talked about the value of higher education to our state. This slide shows the value we offer to our students compared to our neighboring states. Determining the amount of tuition to charge is one of the most challenging tasks for our chancellor and our university presidents. They, along with their staff, spend an inordinate amount of time studying data, analyzing tuition levels at their competitors, and discerning what the market will bear for current and potential students. As you can see, our neighboring states have much higher resident tuition rates that they charge to their students compared to our universities and our public university system. On the next slide, you can see how our tuition compares to some of our competitor universities in other states, further indicative of how affordable our institutions are here within the IHL system. The next slide compares faculty pay in Mississippi to other states across the South. We appreciate the funding you have provided to move our salaries closer to the SRAB average. We're making progress, but it will take several years of increases to close the current gap. In addition to the challenge of retaining faculty based on where we are in faculty pay, there are a number of issues putting pressure on our university budgets, like inflation, cyber threats, and the additional costs it takes to mitigate the damage from those threats and prevent those threats from happening on our campuses, and of course, deferred maintenance. Our institutions are reporting that they're experiencing much higher costs in energy and construction. In addition, supply chain issues continue to cause costly delays with construction and maintenance products and increasing the cost. As you can see from this slide, inflation is affecting nearly every expense category within our university budgets. All of our presidents and chancellors are joining me here this morning, and I would ask if they have any additional examples to provide to this committee on how these inflationary costs are affecting the operations on their campuses.
That is absolutely very high. Estimates that we're getting are anywhere. So we thought we had a sort of plan in place. That's where we are.
Right, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Dr. King. Thank you, sir. Yes. Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you. So the last slide, Senator Parks, is our request for fiscal year 2024. We're requesting an increase to continue to work toward making our faculty salaries more competitive and closer to the SRB average. We appreciate the support you've given us over the past couple of years toward that end. While salaries continue to be a priority for our universities, unfortunately, all of our universities are challenged with rising inflation. So our request also includes funding to assist with covering these inflationary costs, and our request for our campus budgets is $497.5 million. We also have two important issues that we're requesting additional support for. A recent mental health needs assessment performed by the University of Mississippi Medical Center found that there are significant student mental health needs across our university system. This is a serious challenge to the well-being of our students, and we're asking for additional support to address this need. The study found that campus mental health services are overwhelmed and understaffed. Campuses, especially in rural areas, have limited ability to address medication management for students that are under treatment and have difficulty in recruiting and retaining talented mental health providers. We're asking for $5 million to expand a centralized telehealth service using clinicians provided or hired by the University of Mississippi Medical Center. I say expand because thanks to some seed funding from the governor's office, we were able to get this project off the ground a couple of years ago. The funding would also cover necessary equipment, supplies, and promotional efforts to encourage students to use the services. We often find that students needing mental health services know that the services are provided on the campus, but won't seek that help for various reasons, and we need to promote those students actually utilizing the services that are provided. We also need your assistance to increase the number of nursing faculty in our nursing programs so that we can admit more nursing students into our nursing programs. Unfortunately, our nursing programs must turn away approximately 300 qualified nursing applicants each year because of limited faculty numbers. With an investment of $5 million, we can add 20 to 30 faculty lines to help admit those students and get more nurses into our nursing workforce. As you saw on one of the previous slides, nursing graduates stay in Mississippi at a higher rate than many other students. So this would support both addressing a workforce demand we have in our state and also addressing the brain drain issue. Finally, we hope you will be able to continue to support us at previous levels in capital expense funding. We're requesting $75 million to address some of the maintenance and upkeep issues on our campuses, and will be extremely helpful as we address inflationary costs and increase in construction and material costs. Chairman Parks, thank you again for this opportunity. Thanks to you and the other members of the Senate for your support of higher education. This concludes the formal part of my presentation, and I will entertain any questions that any senators may have at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Rankin. Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation. It's quite informative and a lot of content. On the slide that had the short list, I guess, of some of the cost increases, you got cyber threats there. Do you know what approximately the expenditures are to deal with cyber attacks are currently, and maybe what the price going forward is in trying to put in preventative measures?
Well, we've had a couple here in recent years on our campuses, and I guess it'd probably be best to let one of our presidents tell you about what those costs look like when they do have a threat on their campus. So President Miller, I think that you had one recently. Can you address the costs incurred by MUW and you had to deal with that issue?
Just quickly, though, do you have some type of a dollar figure that potentially costs?
Any other IEOs been input and attack recently?
In short, are we where we need to be in this space?
I think we've made a lot of progress, particularly with our institutions getting cyber insurance, but I don't think we're quite where we need to be because it's always evolving and the perpetrators out there, they're always getting better and more sophisticated. So it's an ongoing effort where the universities continue to have to pour resources into trying to protect their systems on their campuses.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes. Anyone else has a question from the committee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Rankins, in regard to the cyber attacks, does IHL work with ITS to make sure that their plans are, I'm sure some of the data and information translates from the universities to the state, because a lot of that information is, financial aid, for instance, would be one area where you would have some collaboration between state offices. Is there coordination with ITS in cyber protection?
We do have to coordinate with ITS on this issue, particularly as it relates to vendors that provide services. So, yeah, we do have to work with ITS and collaborate with them.
I probably need to talk to ITS. I mean, this is right in their wheelhouse, I would think, and I'm sure there's some things that the executive officers have to contend with separately and outside of ITS that may not be part of the overall program. But just as we go through this process and as cyber becomes a bigger and bigger issue, I think that's something that we need to make sure we're coordinated, because I have found in the last few years as we've dealt with this that sometimes our left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing on some cyber issues. So it would not be unique to say that there's a little bit less coordination than we might want on that. And that's something I will talk with you about later on. One other question, or maybe two questions, I guess, for you and the executive officers. One is back to the construction issue and the problems. And I recognize construction costs have just gone out of the roof, no pun intended, but you're probably have a little bit of a glut of construction. I mean, obviously a lot of money was pumped into the state last year from different areas. And so a lot of our contractors are very busy right now. And I'm sure it's hard to get to all the projects. But two-part question. One is do we have an idea about how much of the funds, the capital expense funds that were appropriated last year will need to be reappropriated this year, roughly? And then the other part is, I heard Dr. Boyce, I think, was the one that referenced that some of the projects are having to be delayed and put off, and it's probably true for every university. That are there plans to continue at least with the projects that we expended capital expense dollars for last year to continue construction?
Well, one of the ideas we thought about, and, you know, we're going to talk to you and other members about, and it's not limited to capital expense, it also includes bond funds to, you know, allow language in the bills that if monies were appropriated for projects previously, that money received going forward could be used to finish out those projects because of if the cost overruns exceeded the budgets. So that's something that, you know, we are looking at and realize that it's going to be a problem given the current construction environment we're dealing with.
Okay. And one last issue is on subsidiary programs, any subsidiary programs that the subcommittee chair and I and others should know about that may be issues that need to be addressed this year. Periodically, we have one or two that kind of bubble to the top, and I don't know if there's anything going on in subsidiary programs that may need special attention this year.
None, Senator Hobson, I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
But if there are, we'll visit with you about it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rankins.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rankins.
Thank you, Senator Parks.
Yeah. At this time, if there's any other comments that any of the presidents would like to make, I'm happy to allow you to have the floor. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Boyce, with respect to that, is essentially what you're saying as it relates to what we can do more E&G funding, more general funding for the universities? Is that what we're talking about? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. Thank you.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions is that a combination of the general fund, and is that state and federal funding that you put into those packages as well? Or is that simply state? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Boyce. This is an opportunity. You have the subcommittee before you. If there's something else, and I think that was a great example of something that the subcommittee needs to understand. When we talk about salaries, we think just that paycheck and not understanding that research package. So again, we have a few minutes. Yes. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Just one quick question. I just was scolded that I'm not having you guys speak into one of the mics. So you're welcome to come to the table here or go to the podium, whichever you prefer.
Thank you. And we really appreciate the funding that we received last year, and we're able to give raises, and that was a huge boost for morale. And so I thank you for that. And I hope that we can continue to chip away at getting our faculty closer to the SREB average. I'll echo what my colleague said about the fixed costs, construction costs. We're all suffering from all of that. But I would also like to say that one of the things that I think the W can do for our state is with our healthcare shortage of nurses. We talked about the number of nurses. Mississippi University for Women produces more baccalaureate degree nurses than any other institution in the state. And we turn away 70 to 100 students every year because we don't have the faculty to support them or the space to support them. And so we are hopeful that with the recovery money that there might be a chance for us to expand our nursing program. Our nurses stay in the state of Mississippi at a rate of 94%. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Good morning. I just want to I echo the sentiments of my colleagues, but I did want to just express at Mississippi Valley State University, one of our biggest challenges right now is our deferred maintenance. And as we talk about the ability to recruit and really be progressive in moving forward, that is something that's really impacting the university to be able to do that. On the construction side, I do appreciate the appropriations that we have received, and we actually put out a bid for the renovation of our student center, and the lowest bid came in $5 million more than what we had appropriated. So that is a challenge I think that we're all experiencing as well. But I just wanted to reiterate, our deferred maintenance is really something that is significantly impacting our ability as we talk about growing and building and continuing to move the university forward. That is something that's impacting us significantly.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, Dr. King.
I just want to reiterate what my colleagues have said, especially the chancellor talking about our E&G funding, our recurring dollars, and how vitally important those are. The one-time dollars, the capital expense funds, and all of those are so important for inflationary cost construction But it's those reoccurring dollars that we can build into our budgets to address critical needs for our scientists, our researchers, our faculty. You know, I was going back to 2009. I can just speak from 2009 to fall of 2022. Our enrollment at Mississippi State has grown by about 25% during that period of time. And when you look at the funding over those years, and you can think back, we had some pretty lean years and recession and national recession and state economy. But over that period of time, our per student funding at Mississippi State is down about 29%, going back to where it was in 2009. And yet we're continuing to operate, meet the needs of our students, meet the needs of our state, our nation, and all the work we're doing in research, and try to be competitive for some of the best and brightest that we want to bring to our campus, bring to the state, that our families are expecting us to put in the classrooms, put in our research labs. And it's tough. When we look at other states that we compete with and investments that those states are putting into their institutions of higher learning, and we look at their tuitions, which are much higher than ours, that's what we're having to compete with. We're having to do a whole lot more with a whole lot less, and we are doing it and doing it exceptionally well. But how we can continue to sustain, that's the challenge. So as I think about where we are in higher education and the funding needs, and we're not expenditures. When you make decisions for IHL, you're not putting funds into, you're putting it into investments for the state of Mississippi's future, for all of our future. I say it quite a bit that the future of our state, this great state, is tied so closely to these institutions of higher learning, and how well they're doing is a reflection of how well our state is going to do going forward, because of the impact that we're having is so tremendous. We did a survey of our class, our graduating class of 2021. First time we had done a graduation class, a survey to see where our students are going and what they're doing. And 97% of the graduates of Mississippi State in the spring of 2021 were either employed or in graduate school within the first 6 months of graduation. And of those who graduated from Mississippi State, more than half of them were employed here in the state of Mississippi with their Mississippi State degree. And of those who chose to go to graduate school, 64% of them chose to stay here in the state of Mississippi to continue their education. So my point is, we're producing outstanding graduates, all of our institutions. And most of our graduates are staying in the state and contributing to our economy, helping to uplift our state and having a significant economic impact on Mississippi. So Chairman Briggs, one-time dollars are vitally important, and we need every nickel we can get, but those reoccurring E&G dollars is the lifeblood of what we do in serving this state and our mission. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you all for taking the time out today to come and share the needs. We do recognize that you are the future of Mississippi, and we will continue to support that and look at these budgets as we look in the next few weeks. Thank you again.